Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Into the Stands. Where today, right, we're in a moment in sports where, right, the obviously the NBA and NHL are fully underway and coming back from their All Star games. But other than that, the sports world is kind of right at a bleak stage right now. Not too much going on. The NBA All Star game and All Star weekend festivities have come and gone and. If I have to summarize it in one word, I would just say like just not memorable. It's two words, I know, but I don't know. Mac McClung winning the dunk contest again. There wasn't any dunk in particular that just blew me away, or something like otherworldly. I mean, I personally really liked the Sabrina Ionescu versus Steph Curry 3-point contest. I thought that was fun. But the still skills contest again, it felt like I was in the room talking with the people that I was watching the game with about everything but what was going on the screen. It just felt like the background of the conversation of the room. And I don't know. Again, I like it. I've liked in the past. I liked the last year's dunk contest a lot. And personally, I didn't even watch the All Star game. It was what 200 points, I believe,
Yeah.
something like that. But it's still listen, it's still popular. It's still very, I think, good. It still attracted apparently like 6 million viewers, which is excellent. People are gonna tune in, obviously. But overall, I mean, just to me, not extremely memorable. I don't know.
And I've always been a fan of All Star
Yeah.
Weekend too, but it's just like the dunk contest is kind of the one where everyone specifically goes after. And I mean, sure, Mac McClung did win. It was cool seeing Jalen Brown actually compete because it's so rare now that we actually see All Stars in the dunk contest. I mean, we even had Jacob Toppin from the Westchester Knicks go out there, which is just what I'm saying. Like, never would we have imagined we're going to see a bunch of G Leaguers go out there and compete in the dunk contest. But I think the biggest problem with the dunk contest in general is that it's just, I think at this point, we've reached a kind of a stage where it's hard to really make unique dunks. Aaron Gordon was one guy in particular who really, at least in 2016, that dunk that he had underneath the legs, I think that's one of the best dunks that we've seen in the past 10, 15 years. And if you're not, including Vince Carter or anything like that, I think that Aaron Gordon had that. But it's just like we saw Mac McClung, dunk over Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
There's been so many guys who have done that though in the
Yeah.
past. It's like it's a cool dunk. Don't get me wrong. It's extremely impressive. It's just that you're not really going to be blown away watching something that you've already seen. And I think that's kind of the problem with the dunk contest. Like you said, Steph Curry versus Sabrina Ionescu. I thought that was great, especially for women's sports WNBA. She was fantastic out there.
Yeah.
She deserves all the respect
Mhm.
because they were talking before whether or not she should shoot from the WNBA 3-point line or the NBA 3-point line. But she said, no, I'm shooting from the NBA 3-point line, which is deeper. And she did great. I mean, if she was in the normal dunk 3-point contest, she would have went to the final round. She had 26, but it's just we are going up against the greatest shooter of all time. It's going to be tough, but this is definitely something I think they should do in the future. I'd even argue maybe in a year or two we could see Caitlin Clark do something like this. I think that'd be a lot of fun too for women's sports. But and the skills challenge, right? I like the skills challenge better when it was just individual players going up against each other, but now they do teams. And team was Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Edwards, and Paulo Banchero. They had a chance of winning, but Anthony Edwards starts shooting left-handed three-pointers. For reference, Anthony Edwards is a righty. So that kind of shows you how little these players seem to really care about these events in terms of winning them and that sort of nature. I know that it's all in good fun. It's just if you're the viewing audience, why would you spend your time watching these events if the players don't really care that they're there? And the All-Star game has always been kind of symptomatic of players that not really try, going for just flashy dunks, deep three-pointers. But it just has come to a point now where I think that this sort of format, I don't really get why they switched because a lot of people had a lot of criticisms. I like the old format of players drafting the teams and the target score because in 2020 and 2022, we saw two very tight, All-Star games where they were kind of fighting to the final whistle to get to that target score. Didn't work out this year. They went back to the old format, and I think we kind of saw this year what the problem was in previous years. So I've always enjoyed All-Star Weekend as a basketball fan. I just hope that there is some sort of improvement that can come in the future.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with Colin here. I mean, the skills challenge, when I saw Anthony Edwards did, I thought it was fake when I first saw it on Instagram on Saturday night. I thought it wasn't real, and I thought it was like some weird edit that somebody made. The dunk contest, I mean, we're never going to get anything like you see some of these high school or college ones. Remember the McDonald's also whatever the one McDonald's did for the All-Americans. That one always was good. There's some other high school ones that are absolutely class. Like there's so many good ones. And then the NBA one is just like meh. I mean, you had people reacting. I mean, Jaylen Brown dunked over how tall is Kai Cenat? 5'3". I mean, he doesn't look very tall, but he dunked over Kai Cenat sitting down in a chair. I mean, you had people dunking over Shaq. Years ago, we had someone dunk over Taco Fall, if you remember him. And now we're like giving good scores for guys dunking over a dude who's sitting in a chair. I am not a fan of that. I think he should have gotten a much lower score that he did. But you're right. The dunk contest will never say anything like Gordon versus Zach LaVine. If you remember that dunk contest where it was going absolutely crazy. It was like 6-7 years ago, I think it is now, which is weird to say. But yeah, All-Star Weekend, I really think there's only one sport in the Big Four who has actually a competent All-Star game, which is Major League Baseball. I mean, the Pro Bowl's a mess. The NHL All-Star game, when they went to the new format, it's not great, but I think it's still better than whatever the NBA is throwing out there. Because 200 points, I mean, you saw the antics, some of the plays. Saw Luka and Nikola Jokic just throwing it back and forth to each other, which ended up in a bucket. People shooting half-court shots. I don't know why you'd pay money to go to that. It's just a mess. And Colin was right again. I think trying to get to one score, one particular number, I think it should be the way to go. Because if they keep going like this, the All-Star game will just attract less and less attention to make it even more meaningless than it already is. So, but players just focus on like not getting injured. Maybe there should be an incentive, but I don't know. I feel like a weird incentive. Like, wasn't it in the Major League Baseball All-Star game? Wasn't it used to like if you win, you get Game 7 of the World Series? Wasn't it like that like a couple years ago?
And I think that's a little too far personally.
I mean, it's something. That's just an example. Yeah. I think there has to be something like that in order to make it meaningful.
I don't think so, because again, it's just like with baseball, and I think it's the constantly bringing on bench players, right, or in baseball's case, right, the amount of pitchers that pitch in the game. So, you're not seeing no batters seeing the same pitcher twice the same way, no pitcher seeing the same batter twice. So that's why it's the most competitive. I think also the fact that they focus on the one other activity, which is the home run derby. And then there's the rookies game, but the All-Star Futures game, but I don't think anybody really watches that. Just you'll hear if a top prospect is a home runner, makes a good play or something like that. But I think I don't know. I think it's the fact that the home run derby is the one activity, right? There have been people who have suggested other things, but I think that's the only one that makes sense for baseball. And also, so I naturally I think baseball is the most competitive in that regard. But because even though these guys really aren't trying, they do a good job of making it seem like they do. But having that, when they had, which until very recently, what was a rule, right, where the winner of the All-Star game gets home field advantage in the first two games of the World Series, or of course, Game 6 and 7 if necessary. It's just, I don't know. I think that's almost a little too much, because that now you're taking away an advantage from a possible one seed, right, who just because that team's league lost in the All-Star game, they could have the best record in baseball, cruise to the World Series, and they'd still have to play games 1, 2, 6, and 7 away. So I think that's personally a little too far, but I just think in general, I just think it's an unfortunate situation. Listen, again, they're still getting viewers, right? The All-Star game in the NBA is still getting plenty of viewers. People want to watch it. People are going to watch the Pro Bowl, even though, right, it's a flag football game. I mean,
that's true.
It's what people are going to watch it. There really isn't anything else to watch, right? There's no other games going on, and right. And I heard them talking about this on the Michael K show, and Don said basically, right, this is what people want. Right, you bring in Damian Lillard in the game, right? What do people like to see from Damian Lillard? They like to see those long, right, 3-point shots, right, close to the, close half court almost, right, type shots, right, from Damian Lillard, guys like that. It's just right. You want to see those guys. Right, that's the most entertaining form of the game to these people. Maybe not to everyone, right? People want to see a more diverse game, right? More defense, whatever. Maybe older fans, but for younger generations, that may be what they find more interesting. So I just think it's a situation where, right, it is what it is. It is kind of unfortunate, but it still attracts a lot of viewers, and a lot of people still find it fun.
I mean, yeah, it's on TNT too, so it's not
Mhm.
like the Pro Bowl's on ABC, the
Yeah.
MLB All-Star Game's on Fox, but they still get 6 million viewers. I think that's still pretty impressive. I'd say,
Yeah.
because not a lot of people really have cable TV and go out of their way to watch TNT.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw on Instagram, I think this is a good question to possibly ask as well. Someone came up with a proposition to make it 3-on-3 with 8 teams and just like a knockout style format like that, and the winner would get like a giant sum of money or something. I mean, like 8 teams, 3-on-3 basketball, kind of like how the big 3, whatever the heck that small 3-man league is on CBS. There's like that's gone on for like 6 years now, wherein by I forgot his name, but it's like something like that. Well, I think will make it more competitive. No, I mean, this All-Star game just feels not as pointless as the Pro Bowl, because the Pro Bowl is literally a flag football game. It's just taking all of the energy out of it, because old Pro Bowls, you used to see people hitting each other to what feels like another stratosphere. That was when it was good. I'd say in the mid 2010s, that's when it was good. And now it's turned into like, oh, we want to protect ourselves. You can, but like, that's the worst one. I think it's the Pro Bowl. The NBA just has to add something to make it different. And I think having that like one target score, I think would be one of the better ways, but they just have to add something more, because the way the game is now, it's just seemingly more pointless than some of the others, honestly.
Well, if we're talking about, additions to All-Star Weekend, one that I've seen before in the past, I think would be a great addition possibly this Saturday, and that would be a 1v1 tournament. I think that, that's kind of like when you go out to a normal basketball court, that's kind of the more, popular thing to do, just play a 1v1, maybe go to 10 or something like that, go to 11. I think seeing NBA All-Star players go up against each other trying to, just 1v1, you could even set up a tournament maybe of All-Stars that are players. I think that would be a lot of fun, because listen, you don't have to play super hard defense, it'd be like any sort of 1v1 you play in any other gym across America. I think it'd be really cool to see, for example, like LeBron James go up against Kevin Durant and both of them try to get to like a target score of 11. I think that's kind of what NBA All-Star Weekend could use.
Sure. But yeah, I think in conclusion, it's an All-Star game. Sure, it could use some help, but a lot of people like it still. I guess the next thing to talk about is, of course, the fact, right, with sports kind of being at a stalemate right now, right? It'll start to pick up, but we have baseball coming back, and spring training starts this. I want to say this Saturday. At least that's the Yankees' first game, I know. And listen, I'll tell you right now, I'm excited, and I think I'm ready to say, and I'm not waiting for a certain rumor to diminish before I say this. I think I'm ready now. I think this is the most excited I've ever been for a Yankee season. I really think so. And I know, right, that sounds shocking, and there are plenty of reasons for that, and I'll tell you why. Of course, first of all, this isn't the number one reason. It should be, but of course, Juan Soto. Haven't been this excited for a position player since 2017. I mean, it's getting to the point I'm going to be locked in watching spring training now, because I want to see this guy every second that he's wearing the pinstripes. I remember when Stanton got here, I was watching, I still had class. It was like I was in middle school, and I was watching the game because I wanted to see Stanton's first spring training AB with the Yankees, and he got a walk. I remember that's how locked in I was from the moment they traded for him to locked to spring training to, you can imagine how hyped I was when he hit his first home run with the Yankees and against the Blue Jays. That's how I'm feeling right now with Juan Soto. I don't think I've been this excited about a player in a very long time. So of course that's great. Of course they've made plenty of other acquisitions as well, right? Verdugo, Grisham came in the trade, Caleb Ferguson, Marcus Stroman, of course, in the rotation. So not only did the Yankees get better in so many different positions, but every single one of the guys that's coming back that was on this team last year has a legitimate case why this could be a much better season for them. And there are 3 top ones. They're every single player. I can make a case for it really quickly. Like Anthony Rizzo, right? Hopefully concussion free, right? Should be a better season. Aaron Judge, not injury prone. That was a freak injury. He ran into a wall. You can't expect that to happen again, hopefully, even though apparently you're hearing that it's going to be an issue that's going to linger and be recurring for the rest of his career, but hopefully he could battle through that. But if he can stay healthy, that's your best player right there. But there are 3 big ones. The first is Gleyber Torres, And the reason I say I think this is going to be a much better season for him, or has potential to be, that's the big key here. Because this team, everything could go wrong. Everything could go wrong, but if everything goes right, we could see something special. Gleyber Torres is in a contract year. That's always good. You always want guys in contract years because now he wants to prove to the Yankees that their next offseason isn't just going to be considering Juan Soto. They're going to have to consider him as well. And he also wants to send a message to every Major League Baseball team that he's worth the contract he wants, because the Yankees have had no conversations with him about extending him. So he's one I'm keeping an eye on. The second is, of course, Giancarlo Stanton, because he comes into camp looking like a brand new guy physically, where you see the picture of him standing next to Aaron Judge. He lost a lot of weight. He looks insanely lean, much leaner than he was last year. He wants to be a baseball player again, and that was his quote. And if he goes out, and right, one thing I saw was Dan Allen Rourke, who runs the Yankees Avenue page, brought up a great point and a great idea, and I think we should do it. That on opening day, we should give this guy a loud standing ovation, round of applause when he's announced in the first inning, because if there's one thing I can't say about Giancarlo is that I can't complain about his work ethic. I can't. Every year that he's been here, he's worked hard, even through the injuries. He's tried. The Yankees really tried to prevent him from playing the field. He wanted to. He's always tried hard, and he comes into the spring training looking excellent. And I hope he has a great year. But again, we don't know. And the last player, and I say this guy's the biggest wild card on this team, and that's Carlos Rodon, because he has been in camp since January, and his velocity is up. He's in great shape. He was not in great shape when he pitched last year, and he's healthy so far. If he's healthy, if he's back to what he was before he signed with the Yankees, that's going to be huge. So you add all this stuff up, all these players. I can go further down the list, right? Anthony Volpe, hopefully his second season is good. Austin Wells, hopefully providing offense behind the plate. You can go on and on. Every aspect, the pitching, the bullpen you expect is the only area I'm confident in this team. You add all of it up, and I think this Yankees team is the biggest wild card in baseball this season.
And what is it? Like you said, just the things that the players have overcome. We talk about that Aaron Judge freak injury. We talk about the Anthony Rizzo situation with the concussion. We talk about Nestor Cortez, Carlos Rodon getting injured during the season. For any other team, this last season would have been so disastrous, but yet the Yankees still finished with an 82-80 record. And, I know that an 82-80 record is not something that should be celebrated. I mean, that was the worst Yankee record in the past 30 years, but still, for a team to go through that much and still finish positive, that's a really good sign that this team is resilient. This team has depth. And we talk about what has always been one of my biggest talking points of the Yankees has been the lineup. And I've always felt, too home run heavy, too relying on right-handed hitters. But we look at this projected lineup going into next season. DJ LeMahieu, righty. Juan Soto, lefty. Aaron Judge, righty. Anthony Rizzo, lefty. Gleyber Torres, righty. Alex Verdugo, lefty. Giancarlo Stanton, righty. Volpe, righty. Austin Wells, lefty. I've never seen diversity like that in the Yankee lineup between right-handed and left-handed hitters. And that's really the key between, being a lineup where you could be home run or bust in the playoffs, or a lineup that can find multiple different ways to score. And I'm saying all this right now about this Yankee lineup, about even factoring in the massive, massive impact that a certain Jason Dominguez can bring to them in July and August. And we only saw a little bit of him, but think of what he can bring to the table, being a switch-handed hitter, a guy with great speed. I mean, like you said, I'm very excited for this Yankee season. It's just that the Yankees in the past, we've gotten ourselves worked up for these seasons, and it hasn't really turned out the way we wanted it to. Obviously, Juan Soto is going to be a big story going forward. I remember you were talking about, I was so excited to see Giancarlo Stanton come to the Yankees in 2018, and even seeing him slim down, all credit to that guy. I mean, like you said, it's not really a question of Stanton's work ethic. It's just, the fact that he has been really unfortunate with injuries. But I will say Giancarlo Stanton has usually had a pretty good track record of showing up in the postseason. He's had his moments for sure in Pinstripes. I hope that, even if we can just see it's a slight improvement at Giancarlo Stanton, that's going to be massive, because he's not going to be relied on anymore to be the second guy behind Aaron Judge in this lineup. There's so much more different options now, especially with Juan Soto kind of relieving that off his shoulder. So if Stanton really is now a 5, 6, 7 hole batter, I mean, if he can just be, a pretty above average hitter, the Yankee lineup is going to be a problem. And I think that Stanton's more than capable of that.
Now, I agree with everything you said. I want to touch on one thing, though, that you mentioned, the expectations that we have. And that, I think, is the number one reason why I'm excited for this Yankee season. And it's because the expectations, I don't think, are as high as some people are going to expect them to be. because I mean, how could they? They finished 80, basically finished 500 last year. They add a couple. Yeah, Juan Soto is excellent. I get it, but right to go right. I don't understand how you can how people will automatically consider this team to be a World Series favorite to automatically win 100 games again, and that's what I like because finally we don't have these massive expectations. We can just enjoy what we see. It can be a question mark. It's not we have to be there or the season's a failure. It's we've seen this team finish 500. Things could go wrong. Stroman could stink. I mean, I have to say, right, that I am very excited as well because what I'm seeing, a lot of the guys they're bringing in are really excited to be here, especially Stroman. So I like what I'm seeing from him. But we obviously have to see him pitch. What if he gets hurt? What if he pitches and he's not as good, right? He's getting older. What if that doesn't go too well? What if Nestor Cortez, right? We still don't know about that injury. What if he goes down? And what if Rodon's not what we expect and things go downhill? This team could have a season like last year, but if everything goes right, the sky is the limit. So they have no floor, they have no ceiling. Those expectations aren't going to be there, and we could sit here and enjoy Yankee baseball and just be surprised. And we're not creating these expectations for themselves. I can't say I'm mad about those seasons like 2019 or 2020 or 2023 like last year when we had these expectations. Even though last year I didn't think we were going to the World Series, although I expected playoffs. But finally, we don't have these massive expectations, and we're just going to be surprised by what we see, and I like that.
I don't even remember after discourse after last year because we had that fantastic start to 2022. Then ultimately we kind of had the rough stretch there in the middle of the season. Came back, went to the ALCS, got swept. And I just remember just every single season with Aaron Judge, it's that World Series or bust. This guy hit. He hit 62 home runs last year, and the team's going to be, in theory, on paper, should be better. So the Yankees should go to the World Series. But like you said, I feel people are kind of almost writing off the Yankees now. People have kind of accepted that, listen, the Yankees are a talented team, but they're ultimately going to flame out in October. And if that's the expectation, I mean, that's better for us, right? We don't want to necessarily be the team that everyone's like, they're definitely going to go to the World Series. We want to be the hunter. We don't want to be the hunted. Exactly what you said. And we've seen so many teams. We've seen the Astros go there. We've seen the Rays go there. We've seen the Rangers go there. All these other teams that a lot of people would have thought the Yankees would have been there first, but that wasn't the case. So the Yankees not having huge expectations is definitely something that, like you said, I think we should feel pretty good about right now.
Yeah, the New York Yankees, I feel like they should have some expectation, not a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
they have to have something because I feel like the offseason for 3/5 of this division would be characterized as underwhelming. I think the Orioles, I think they didn't have to. I mean, they traded for Corbin Burns, which is a great trade. I don't know. Did Toronto do anything?
Got Isaiah kind of philosophy.
Beautiful. That's their
utility, man.
Beautifully
I'm
utility
so
pull.
Listen, real quick, can I just say that's another thing. Remember last year I was saying that I was excited for the season because it was just spring. That's the only reason. They had so much dead weight. They had Donaldson, Hicks, and IKF. And I am not trying to come after IKF, but let's be real. I think we're going to be happier with the guys we have now. Even if Grisham has a 100 average, he's an excellent defender. But yeah, I just that's what I'm saying is they filled so many gaps. They gave us everything we needed, even if it was flashy or not. And
that's another thing you brought up too is that made me kind of think about the whole IKF situation. There's no one that this year where it's like we're unreasonably expecting someone on the team to do something. Because you remember just a couple years ago, it was Gleyber Torres. You have to be a good shortstop. Then it was Isaiah Kiner Falefa. You have to come in here after playing third base your whole career and be a good shortstop. There's no one on this roster right now who we're given like a ridiculous task that they've never done before. I mean, Anthony Volpe was a Gold Glove shortstop last year. All these guys have had experience in their positions and in their roles, and they've had success. So I think that that's a good sign. I think that definitely more well-rounded group we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, adding Juan Soto is an absolute difference maker. But what I like looking at the most is the rotation. I'm a big guy focusing on starting rotations. And the one guy who I think I love him, that's Nestor Cortez. I think if he stays healthy, what he can bring to the table. I honestly think that the New York Yankees, if they have everyone stays healthy and if they can live up to potential, they have 3 Cy Young contenders in their rotation this year with Rodon, with Garrett Cole, and of course with Nestor Cortez. And what they all can bring to the table for you, it's all different. I mean, Cortez and his antics, Cole is the right-handed side with his fastball. Rodon's velocity is really solid. He can bring a lot to the table as well. Marcus Stroman, I feel like he can bring a lot to the table. He didn't pitch. I don't remember him pitching that great in Yankee Stadium with the Blue Jays or the Mets, But what I like about Marcus Stroman now, and this drives me nuts as a Mets fan, is that he wants to be there.
Yeah.
That was the problem, Marcus Stroman on the Mets. If you remember, his first season was the COVID season. Did he play it? No.
No, that was the second season. And what you're forgetting
That was
there
the second season. He did the
is
trade
that
deadline
when he
year.
got traded to the Mets, he allegedly had a fit in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to get traded there. But again, listen, we knew problems were gonna come, right? Or that there were problems with Stroman. But what I'm seeing from how happy he is, he's always rocking Yankees gear. This is like what Harrison Bader.
Yeah.
I always like Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader wasn't an all-star player for the Yankees, but he loved to be here. And we're
Local
seeing it
kid
with
from
Stroman.
Bronxville.
Right, and Stroman from Long Island, Medford,
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, Medford, yeah.
Right, that's a local kid as well, and he really is happy to be here. Came to the Yankees. The Yankees didn't come to him. They came together and agreed. So love to see that. Like more than anything, it's like he's a homegrown player. I mean, he literally kind of is from being from New York, but even though he's never played for the Yankees, actually been kind of an enemy to the Yankees in his career. Now it's like I'm watching a prospect grow. It's like it's so nice to see a player truly love to be here.
Also, the first Yankee to rock number 0, I believe, right?
Domingo Germán.
Domingo
He was, yes,
Germán,
Domingo
and
Germán.
Adam
Yes.
Ottavino did it. He was the first.
I mean,
Yeah.
what this offense can bring to the table, you guys touched on it very well. What the rotation can have, the bullpen stays the way it should. This team will go after Baltimore or whoever else, if any of the other three want to stay relevant in that echelon. Because I don't think Tampa Bay gets there. That they lost McClanahan for the year, and they lost Glass now to the Dodgers. Boston's not there. They're not even close. Toronto didn't do anything. So it's really going to be Baltimore or the Yankees for the division. And what Baltimore brings to the table, it's really good. I will admit that. And they are a very intriguing team. But with the youth they have, they're bound to regress. And with what the Yankees have, with not as much expectation, the division could really be all theirs for the taking if Baltimore. I really do think they will be up in that race. And the reason I say that is like with a team like Baltimore, with how young they are, I mean, they added Corbin Burns. You're going to have a Cy Young win in that rotation. Good for you. They're so young. Like yes, they've experience in the playoffs, but I'm not that confident in them still. To be fair, I'm not confident in either team to win this division truly yet, because I still feel like someone is going to make some weird move. Like for example, this is not going to happen. Say like Toronto moves for Blake Snell for no reason. Like they could, and someone could instantly join this race still imagine Tampa Bay does something. Like I don't think they will, but this division, I still think it's going to be a 2-horse race all the way. Toronto can maybe keep themselves in the hunt. But with the Yankees, less expectations, I do think will be a big beneficiary for them. Because, like, say they finished in second, I think that should be the expectation is at minimum second. Because Toronto didn't do anything. You have Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette. That's cool. Do you have anyone else joining the Cool Kids Club over there? I mean, not really. They have Gausman in the rotation, but no one really joined the Cool Kids Club. The Yankees have a full Cool Kids Club featuring guys like Juan Soto, Dominguez when he comes back. I love that outfield. Judge, Dominguez, and Soto when they all play together. That'll be ridiculous. I'm really excited for that. The Yankees have, like I said, not as much expectation, but as an outsider from a non-Yankees fan, I think you guys should be. I mean, they're a good squad. I'm intrigued to see how they look.
Yeah, and I think that last bit you said there, just intrigued, right? It's not they were here last year, they have to be back there, right? We're not looking at October. Well, if the Yankees make the playoffs and we're playing in October, then the games will become unenjoyable because then we'll have to win and we'll get all that. But for once, and I'm not saying they're going to have the expectations, even though Vegas technically doesn't have them as the top favorite. They're going to still have the expectations. It's just I mean Boone was creating the expectations and Cashman, right? They're saying we have to win with this window, and right, Boone's quote was, "We're hell bent on winning a championship right now." But I think at this point, I've seen enough of this to be able to read between the lines. It's not that they're not confident. They are. That's why they had the offseason they did. But for once, right, with how last season ended and the moves that they made, things can go very wrong if those guys get hurt and the guys who we had last year get hurt, right? We don't know. Stanton's workouts, who knows how that's going to do to him, his playing, his performance on the field. Is Gleyber Torres going to be up for the task of earning himself a contract, right? Not every Trevor Story didn't have the best contract year. Some guys have excellent contract years. Some guys don't. What if these guys in the rotation get hurt? Right, there are a lot of things that can go very wrong for this team. But if everything goes right, which is a big if, and it won't happen, something will happen. Right, we're already seeing guys like Lou Trevino and Scott Efros already out for a couple months. But
It's been a while since we've seen Efros.
oh yeah,
When was the last time you saw him?
Like since like September of last year, we were doing one of
Really?
our first episodes of the show. It was the last time he pitched in for the New York Yankees. But just so I'm just excited. I'm feel like a kid, just excited for the season to begin, just to watch baseball and a product of baseball that we have absolutely no idea how it's going to be. It's not like 2019 after 2018 where we knew what we were going to get from the team. It's a completely different product, and every player has a case as to why they can have a better season if they were on the team last year. But I think shifting over to the other side of town, the New York Mets. Now, if there's one thing I'll say as a Yankee fan, I am not your average Yankee fan. I don't hate the Mets at all. I don't like the Mets. I'm not a Met fan.
Yeah.
But I don't hate them.
Thank you.
It would mean something to me, or when I say mean something, I mean like just observing it. If the Mets were to win, when the Mets do things, it's important to me. I do my research. I feel like almost like a reporter. Like I just I'm reacting to this news. If Blake Snell went to the St. Louis Cardinals or Minnesota Twins, that would mean nothing to me. It would be like, oh, Blake Snell went to this team. But if the Mets get him, it's the Mets signed Blake Snell, right? It means something to me, even though I'm not a fan and I'm not necessarily happy about it. But I don't hate the New York Mets, and I want them to be competitive because one of my best memories or favorite Subway Series memories was when the Mets and Yankees played in 2022, when both teams were on top of their divisions and they were excellent. You had Scherzer versus Judge, where Judge hit 2 home runs off Scherzer. It's like those stories are good. That's when it's worth the $90 ticket to sit in all the way in the top at Yankee Stadium, see a Mets Yankees game.
Another one that sticks out to me too was the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
That was a good game. That was a great series. Even though the Mets were kind of on the outside looking in at that point in that season, they were still. That was a competitive series. Good play. I remember it was the day after that one. Javi Baez hit a home run and Judge hit one in that one. The next day, Lindor hit 3 home runs in that game. So just good performances, things like that. That's when it's worth it to go to the Subway Series. Not what we got last year. That was garbage, right? Both teams were out. That was awful. And so when I see what the New York Mets do this offseason, it disappoints me. It disappoints me. Again, I'm not a fan. I don't get emotionally attached to the New York Mets. It doesn't mean anything to me if they win or lose. I just would prefer if they were better because it's more competitive and the city gets giddy when both teams are good. It's disappointing that they. I understand they made the mistake of giving the money to 2 old pitchers, but that it seems like it's almost scared Steve Cohen to the point where he doesn't want to give out money now. I don't understand why they didn't even have conversations. It seems like with Jordan Montgomery or someone like that. I don't love the Sean Manaea and Luis Severino signings.
I'm not saying but
I'm not saying they can't be good, but like it just feels like it like the Detroit Tigers did something. Oh man, maybe it was
what year was it?
I don't know if it was this year or if I'm confusing something. I feel like they signed like Michael Lorenzen last year. I think it was what they did.
Yeah,
there's just like a 1 year like prove it deal, just like random. Like that's what teams like that do. It's like the Mets should be going out and getting the top guys. I think still because I thought there were some very good guys out there, but I understand they want to be a little more fiscally responsible, and they got to focus on Pete Alonso and the next year's got a good free agent class, right? And the pitching too, Corbin Burns, Shane Bieber, just a couple names that are going to be out there that are going to be worth it. Right. Offense, of course. I mean, I think every Met fan can't help but wonder Juan Soto in Mets gear. I get nightmares thinking about just because of again, it's again, the outcry that's gonna come, from the other side of town. I think I've proven to my Met fan friends that I'm not that kind of Yankee fan, but it would still just be awful hearing every single day that our former player, got signed by the Mets. So I really we'll worry about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm not excited for that whole saga or getting nervous every day for Juan Soto to sign, and because he's definitely going to free agency. But That would just be too awful. But I think they're waiting for things like that, and I think they could still win this year. I think they have a chance to sneak into a wild card spot. I mean, the Braves are not beating Atlanta. Philly didn't do much this offseason, but
they didn't really need to.
Right. They're gonna be there.
Miami did nothing. Washington didn't do anything.
So the National League's got to root again. Look at the Diamondbacks. Right. Talk about expectations. I mean, who expected them to be there, and that's why we can expect all we want, and I think that's something the Mets saw last year is they expected to be in the playoffs again after what they did in 2022. And you saw that it was kind of a fluke of a year. Everything went well until the end, and it hadn't gone well since. And so, but just the same way that all happened, it can be the other way around, right? The things can go well. I could see the Mets being in a wild card position, and you never know what happens if you're just in it by the trade deadline.
They have a massive hole on this team in the corner outfield, and it's driving me crazy. I mean, the fact that Starling Marte is still the starting right fielder is just drives me nuts. Let me talk to you about this team. This team is just the epitome of what the heck are they trying to do? Because you go out and I love Harrison Bader. I think it's a good pickup, but I'm just interested to see what they do in the outfield. Because you have Brandon Nimmo, who has a ton of range. I think they're going to actually move him to left, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'm like, what else are you going to do? You have Harrison Bader, who just runs. So this projected lineup, let's take a look at how you talk about the Yankees lineup looking good. Listen to this Mets lineup, ladies and gentlemen. We have Brandon Nimmo, who's going to start every single day and twice on Sundays. You have Starling Marte hitting second, which, okay. Francisco Lindor, he's hitting there. Pete Alonso, I mean, so the reason I say it like that is one, I think there's actually a very reasonable chance this is Pete Alonso's last season on the Mets. I really do think that. I hope not. Because if you hear what Pete Alonso said recently, you're like, yeah, I'll stay a Met. It didn't sound convincing.
Yeah, but because
everyone says that.
I believe he's a Boris client.
Yeah, yes, he is.
That's what you listen. You say I want to be a Met. I want to get this deal done immediately. Juan Soto didn't say that in his time with the Yankees, right? Or so far in the press conferences.
I mean, he's been there for 2 months.
Funny enough, Gleyber Torres did just say that. It's kind of now being like, oh, did that Gleyber Torres lose leverage with Brian Cashman because he said that?
Exactly. So that's exactly what I was getting at. Is Pete Alonso says I want to stay a Met forever, and he automatically loses leverage. Yeah. So, that's what that was all about. But I'm sure deep inside he wants to be a Met. He seems to love it here. And then you see how hyped he gets whenever he hits a home run. He's beloved by Met fans.
And we adore this man.
Listen, I hope he stays. I hope he stays. Again, they love him here. I understand he may not age as well as some other players, but at the same time, he's one of the premier power hitters in the National League, and there's something about doing it in New York, as we know, that's very important.
And he also had a down year in terms of average last year. He only hit 219, but he's not much known for an average guy. But in the earlier stages of his career, he hit 265, 270, dropping it down to 219. It's not the greatest sighting. We have Jeff McNeil. I don't know how to feel about him because he could deliver you a batting title, and then he could hit 190. So hitting fifth though.
He's won. He's done it in the past, right? He's had the ups and downs, right? I mean, just 2 years ago, he won the batting title, right? I mean, right? He was excellent, great defensively, I'm not sure what his defensive metrics are like, but I know
they're actually pretty. I think they're pretty.
Plays multiple positions. He's the type of guy you extend. They extended him, and they got to just go through with that, and hopefully he gets better. That's a lot of what the Mets' success is going to rely on. It's going to be guys that are part of this core stepping up. Nimmo, Lindor, and this rotation is the big one that I look at. Yeah. They have to, I like what they did with the bullpen. I like what they did a lot.
You actually do like that?
I do. I like guys like Diekman and
it's literally what we do every year. Just sign old players.
Yeah, but
Fujinami, I'm intrigued by.
He's the one that strikes me as he throws 100. He's really good, and then he's gonna just throw it down the middle, or he's gonna walk everyone. It's just the salty Yankee fans are gonna put that in the little Mets compilations. Him walking everyone. So that one doesn't really that one doesn't really
7.8 ERA, ladies and gentlemen.
But he's an intriguing option. They had to make that signing, in my opinion, just because again he throws really hard. There's a lot of upside there. So who knows? Maybe he will be very good. Yeah. It just. I like more of a Jake Diekman who's been around for a while, done it, and could be solid. So I like a couple of the moves that they made in the bullpen.
I mean, he throws hard and he throws a sinker. This literally sounds like MLB The Show. But the bullpen, I'll talk about them real quick. They have Edwin Diaz coming back. He looks great, by the way. He looks great coming off the injury. For those who don't remember, he got hurt at the end of a WBC game, World Baseball Classic game from last year that kept him out all of last season, which is very hurtful and really started the trend of the downward slide of the New York Mets last year. Brooks Raley, I think he's great. I mean, and then it just falls off a cliff. I mean, you have a couple of decent players. When you have Sean Reed Foley still around, like this bullpen's terrible. But Jorge
sucks.
Lopez also is intriguing. I think he could possibly have a comeback season. This rotation strikes me as confusing because they signed Sean Manaea and Severino. I don't know how to feel about Manaea. I think Severino is going to be competent, but Manaea, like, I don't know. He's old. He's a lefty. Those usually don't work with the Mets very well. Kodai Senga actually is getting evaluated for an injury from yesterday, which is concerning.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not bad, but it's the Mets. It's probably terrible. So, I mean, they traded for Adrian Hauser, which I think is actually the smartest move they've done in this rotation, other than signing the other two. But when the fact of the matter is that they have Jose Quintana still in the rotation. He's old as heck. Tyler McGill, I have confidence in Tyler McGill. Because, like, there's nights like opening day from like recently where we do like 5-6 innings, allowed like 1 run. Like, that's what I hope out of Tyler McGill. This is going to be a weird comparison. He is the equivalent of, I compare him a lot to Taijuan Walker. And the reason I compare him to Taijuan Walker when he was on the Mets, because Taijuan Walker was the definition of inconsistent. You can throw out 6 innings pitched with no earned runs, follow that up by not making it out of the first inning. So, listen, I love Taijuan Walker, but like I don't want another Taijuan Walker because it's just stress, immaculate. It's just all stress.
In the chat, we got this coming from a diehard Mets fan. They're going 0-162.
Beautiful.
But his realistic prediction is 70 and 92.
I
think they're better than that.
I think the Mets are going to be 81 and 81, a little bit better than 81 and 81. Because, like, listen, the National League East after Philadelphia and Atlanta is pretty horrible. I mean, I like what Washington can do. I love Josiah Gray and some of the other young pieces they have. Miami, they lost Alcantara. They should have no hope. But the Mets finishing third, I feel like, is the expectation because they're not going to compete with Philadelphia. They're definitely not competing with Atlanta. So I'm just really intrigued to see if they can actually like outlive Lowell Mets. It's going to be a Lowell Mets season. The compilations will probably come by the end of June. I mean, by June, I have a feeling they're probably going to be like 40, like at 500 because it's the Mets.
He says Senga is out for the year 100%.
Yeah, no.
No,
what happened with Senga? Let me explain with the Senga situation. Because let's explain what happened. So he's undergoing tests for arm fatigue, which usually that means like that's a problem. But Carlos Mendoza, who I also don't like already, because I didn't like the signing to begin with. I think going a guy like him, like, man, it's a risky move, and it's the Mets. Everything's a risky move for them at this point. But with Senga, it's going to be concerning until we find out actually what happened or like why it happened. So I honestly, because it's the Mets, I doubt he'll be back before April. But at the end of the day, I do think this team, if he stays healthy, I mean, could have a Cy Young caliber pitcher in Kodai Senga, who is getting paid nothing. And it's really sad because he should be getting paid $30 million a year.
Senga?
Yeah. After last year, I'm like, you can make an argument for it. I mean, because Senga is really good. I mean, he had like a sub-3 ERA, I think, like around a 3. But what he offers you is a lot. The only issue I have with him is that he cannot go deep in games. He's literally Marcus Stroman with us, but better. Because Marcus Stroman, when he was on the Mets, never made it past like the 6th inning, and it drove me crazy. Like, you already knew when Marcus Stroman was coming out, he's going to allow you 2 runs. He's going to throw 80 pitches and then get yanked. Like, that's just the way it was with Marcus Stroman. Now, I feel like Marcus Stroman will throw like 117 pitches and throw a complete game against the Mets. But back to Senga, I just hope like it's not terrible. I mean, like I said, with the luck of the Mets, it's going to be out till April. But This team should, I think, expect third. And I think third would be a fair estimate for them. Just missing the playoffs, I think, would be the expectation.
Yeah, and he did his standing predictions being an NL East. He says Braves, Phillies, Mets, Nationals, Marlins finishing last.
Finishing last is kind of harsh because the Nationals don't have a rotation.
But
other
the
than
Nationals
Josiah
also
Gray.
played well. They were a scrappy young team towards the end of the year.
I agree with that.
I believe Patrick Corbin's contract's up. I believe that he was
One
just
more
a
year, I
disaster.
think.
Oh, okay, then he
around a year more.
He was a disaster. He's been a disaster.
Oh yeah.
But they're getting younger. They're scrappy. Good little team. But yeah, again, just rounding out the Mets, I just think an iffy offseason, but I can understand right after what happened last year. They're going in a different direction. They want to change. They want to win. And I like it. Listen, those years when the Mets are like, on 10 games under 500 by September and the City Field's got like 1,000 people in there, that's not fun, That's not cool. And I just feel, I don't know. Again, I don't get pleasure from the Mets losing like some Yankee fans do. I want both teams to be competitive. I like it. And because those games were fun, right? Of course, the World Series, everyone will talk about the Subway Series, but when both teams are good and playing good Subway Series games in the regular season, that's when it's worth the ticket price. That's when it's worth seeing, when both teams have great players, and so that's my take. But I guess rounding out our talk, and I guess it kind of ties in with the Mets because Pete Alonso did a video where we saw this. These MLB jerseys look disgusting. They are just awful. I mean, one thing what did it for me, what made me want to talk about it was the last straw for me was the pictures. And Pete Alonso, he did an interview, right, where it was like one of those like little interviews they asked him about himself or whatever, that you can see his pants and you can see the jersey tucked in through the pants. And it just, have you not seen it?
No,
I've seen that as well. I saw the picture of Michelle
yeah.
Otani.
I have not
I mean, it's everywhere. You can see
it's ridiculous. I mean,
it's
how are the
awful.
jerseys
It's
that poor
awful.
quality?
I may never buy a jersey again if it stays this way.
Just want to finish off though on the Mets real quick. Obviously
yeah.
the city is better when both teams are doing
Mhm.
well. We've seen before, especially back when they both were having 100-win seasons. Just the talk in the town, the electricity was there. Shout out to you, Eric. I hope that they do better than 70 and 92, but we'll see. But at least the one good thing the Mets have going for them is the NL East definitely is not as bad for the Yankees in the AL East. I think they could definitely pick up some wins against the Nationals and Marlins and maybe be a player there. So hope the better for you.
I just saw the jerseys. Jesus.
Yeah.
Man. Oh my
Hey,
God.
what I will say, the Yankees, they actually look really good. They're because every team you can see the Dodgers one is off, as you mentioned.
Oh
The
my
Mets.
God. The Dodgers
It was Cal Raleigh from the Mariners. You could see any jersey with piping looks awful. Also, any jersey with script lettering looks awful because it looks like you can see just the wrinkles in the lettering. But like any team with piping, because oddly they put the the MLB logo underneath the piping, which just looks odd to me. Another big thing, I don't know what they did, made it smaller or brought the letters closer. That Verlander, like names, like there was a guy, I don't even know his name. I forgot what team he was on. Some prospect in spring training with some team, that his name is like almost a full circle. It's like
Yeah.
more
Oh
than a
yeah. No, I
semicircle.
can get that for you.
Pete Crow Armstrong was another
Yes.
one.
No, that's what it was. Pete
There was another guy. I'm telling you, it was another guy who was like some random pitcher prospect.
This dude.
I don't know, but
I got it. Logan Bursick Harrington.
yes, that was the one.
Harrington. Yeah.
What team?
The Rangers.
Okay. Yeah,
That's what it
I don't know what
one?
happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but they like Verlander, for example, that never happened, and now Verlander's almost a semicircle. Like it looks like a rainbow. Like it's just I don't know what they did. But hey, you want to know something? The Yankees actually look really good.
This is the one time where it benefits us.
Yep. And the tradition, it actually, listen, tradition, it can be good and it can be bad. The Yankees go a little too far with the facial hair policy. I'm not the biggest fan of that.
The fact that we're one of only two teams that have a city connect to, I saw it's just us in the Athletics
that's
now.
the other one.
I mean,
don't we have one? Sure.
The Mets do, yeah. But there is something though really cool about the Yankees having like players today wearing the same jersey that guys like Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth wore, same uniforms. There's something about it that is really cool. That type of tradition is good. Doesn't mean you can't have a City Connect jersey, but definitely do that. Have an alternate, whatever. Just have a little more flair, a little more creativity. But it is really cool that this jersey has not been touched, other than the few little things. There's the story of David Wells, right? When he was a big Babe Ruth fan, and he bought he made a bid for a Babe Ruth game worn hat with the Yankees, and actually when he went to Boston, he wore number 3 because the Red Sox don't have number 3 retired for Ruth, so he was able to wear it there. That was a big reason he went there towards the end of his career. He was able to wear this Babe Ruth worn hat during a game that he pitched, and that to me is really that is where the tradition is at its best. That you can wear. I mean, obviously you can't really do that today, but then to wear something that hadn't been worn for 70 years at that point, to me, that's a type of tradition that is really cool. It's just that the Yankees might go a little too far with it. But of course, they actually happen to have the best looking jerseys because you can't really see the jersey through the tucked in pants, and the away jersey is not going to get affected by that. And the names either.
Although
obviously.
I don't really see the point in changing the away jerseys. I personally like the old
Yeah,
ones better with the
that
stripes.
was odd. That's them going even more back to like Mickey Mantle.
And it just seems more bland to me. Like
yeah,
getting
no,
even
I
rid of the
see.
stripes on the shoulder, I don't like that.
Yeah, it was, and at this point too, that became traditional, that jersey that they had. So I don't know what they were doing there, but hey, I mean, if anything, right, them not having names on the back of the jerseys, we're not going to see any weird, name semicircles. You know, I saw people saying, "Are we going to get the full circle name throughout the jersey?" Name just wrapping around the numbers completely. That would be just awful if there's a name long enough to do that. But yeah, overall, I mean that's. I mean, if there's anything else,
I just want to write the Mets jerseys. If you have to give a letter grade for the Mets jerseys, they're an F. And the reason I give them
every
an F,
team is an F.
I just saw the photo of them with Pete Alonso. Like, what the heck is that? Like,
Yeah,
it feels like something you'd make like for little leaguers. And even then, it wouldn't be that bad of quality. I mean, some of the jerseys just don't look great. I ain't buying one this year. Then again, I never buy one for the Mets. I like old ones. Like the jerseys I liked were like when Daniel Murphy was around. Like the jerseys then I had, like I still have my old Daniel Murphy jersey. Jerseys like that were cool. Like the 2015-16, like around then, like that's when the jerseys from the Mets were the best. Even though they haven't really changed that much, that's when the quality was good. Like it just really feels like this league's getting cheap, like a little bit with these jerseys. I think it might be the wrong way to characterize it, unless you guys have a better word for that, but it doesn't look professional at all.
It does not. Baseball's got great revenue. I mean, they tend to have great revenue, but that doesn't make an excuse. Now, I don't know. I don't know the logistics of all this, right? If it will get changed or will the players get what they want? I don't know how that's going to happen. I've heard people say the players will eventually get what they want, but I don't know the process of getting there. But something's got to change fast. I think you can't. This is very unprofessional, and I saw something. I don't know. I don't know. It was stupid, but it was like an Anthony DeSclafani Mariners jersey. For those of you who don't know, he was like traded twice in the offseason. It goes for like $324 because it's official. But it's official, and it's official, like, you know, with this Fanatics new, you know, manufactured jersey. So it's obviously looks very cheap, and it's like $324 because that's official of a guy who's not even on that team anymore. So that I don't know. Like, I don't know if that was a joke or something. I mean, it was a joke, but I don't know. These things got to change. They got to get back to the old jerseys. I liked Majestic's jerseys, but obviously.
Yes.
Now they're made by Nike. They're gonna have the Nike logo still, but I don't have another baseball jersey other than my Aaron Judge Majestic jersey I got in like 2018. I think that was the last. That's the only jersey I have. I mean, you're seeing it. Soccer jerseys are made more with recycled materials now.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But
I can go on about the new Nike NBA jerseys and the rules that go
Right.
alongside there.
I mean, it's just, jerseys are getting cheaper, and baseball, hopefully they change this because this looks awful. And apparently the NHL is getting Fanatics to make their jerseys soon.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a whole big thing. I can't wait to see how that's going to go. But yeah, hopefully this changes. But overall, I mean, the biggest news right now, other than that, is the guys that are on the free agent market. And I think this is like, we're going to pretty much end here, but these guys got to sign fast. I mean, especially the pitchers, Monty and Snell, they got to sign quick because pitchers need time to build. Just JD Martinez and Bellinger could sign, 2 weeks from the season starts because they only need a couple of games really to get ready. But the pitchers are the ones. That's why the pitchers and catchers report earlier than the rest of the players. They need more time to prep. And so I would expect Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery to be signed, ideally by our next show.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
thinking.
I don't know. That's got to be resolved very quickly. They're all Boris clients, and you can make a case for all of them why they deserve to be signed, but also why not? Bellinger's not consistent at all. And Snell gets hurt a bit, and he only gets you to the 5th inning. Monty just now is figuring it out, and so these guys have cases, but Scott Boras has been really not. Those clients are not getting their money's worth with Scott Boras. So really interested to see how that's going to turn out. I am getting very nervous as a Yankee fan because apparently they're still in talks for Blake Snell, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get my hopes up.
And
really.
you saw Aaron Judge's comment. I think we have another move
Right.
on the way. So
Yep. That smirk, he can't help. And the last time we saw that was around the Soto Verdugo trade, those 2 days when Boone did that. So that little smirk that he gave when he said we have something coming. So I don't know. You can't help but get excited. But overall, I think that's pretty much it for today.
I have one more question for you guys.
Okay.
Rob Manfred is done as MLB commissioner in like 2028 or 2029. Do you like this idea?
Well, I mean, the guy's retiring, so it's not like
is it gonna be a good thing or a bad thing? Did you? I'll word it better. Did you like him as MLB commissioner?
I really don't even know personally. I mean, I understand, right? I think there are still a lot of problems, right? The lockout was odd, right? I think there are some things here and there that are questionable. He really wants to expand the league, add 2 more teams, which is fine. So we'll see how that goes. Overall, I can't say I've done entirely my research into how he is as a GM to have a full opinion on him. But what I will say is, and I'm not saying I'm a fan of him. I don't know. If I do my research into what he's done, maybe I'll feel a different way. But what I will say is I've become a baseball fan during the time of his commissioner, the time of him being a commissioner. So in a sense, right, I don't think he did any advertising to get me to be a fan, but I became a fan under he gained me as a fan. Yeah, he gained me, but right, my team was great. Or the Yankees happened to have a really good season, right? Had an up and coming star in Aaron Judge when I started to get into baseball, and they've marketed him. So I guess for that reason, I will say, I mean, I can't complain, right? Because I can't compare this to a time when the game was quote unquote better or something, right? Steroid era. I wasn't watching the game then, so I don't think I really have much of a comment on that. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen there.
Colin, any thoughts on
yeah,
this?
just think that there should be more marketing towards the game. Manfred didn't really do much of that, but yeah, I think that we'll see what the next commissioner will do. I hope that they can do more to grow the game of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, me starting out watching the game during the last days of Bud Selig and seeing how Manfred, I mean, he tried to grow the game, but I think he's done okay. The big thing for him, for me, is one, is he going to be able to get the expansion teams done before he's gone? And 2, will he put them in the right spots? But that we'll have to wait a couple of years, I think, to find out on that note. And on that note, that'll be the end of today's episode of Into the Stands. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button down below and subscribe to the WIUR Gales YouTube channel. On that note, I'm Robbie Basil with Colin and Chris. This is Into the Stands. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Make sure to watch us every week from 5 to 6 right here on WIUR.